So as I was listening, I'm making some notes on what you gentlemen were saying. And I sort of refer in my own mind, the question was, how does long-term brand building work in a quarterly world, right? So success in today's world is really constancy of purpose. Yeah. And the constancy of purpose is what reflects in your brand promise. And brand, therefore, is conveying a promise for our customers. It's conveying a promise for everybody outside there, and a huge promise for people inside the organization. And therefore, it is that promise which binds the organization together. So if I want to attract, the best talent to come and work for my organization, my brand needs to stand up for something, and only then this talent will come and work for me. If I want the customers to look up at me and think about something that, I want to work with them, what is it that I'm conveying to them? Other than saying, DHL is a logistics company which carry goods from one point A to point B. But what's special about that, right? Therefore, and I think you were talking about different segments of Mondelez carrying different messages to different target groups, isn't it? So that's what really a brand is doing. And therefore, brand building is indeed a long-term exercise. But unless the essence of the brand is not breathing in our messaging, in the way we offer service, and if somebody, when they call me and I respond in a manner that conveys what is it that I'm living. I mean, let's not go very far. Within our own country, we've got many jumlas which come from, our current government. And they are such nice jumla. I'm calling it jumla because, one of our ministers called it's nothing else but a jumla when he said Swachh Bharat for that matter. And there are very nice ones which have come after that. But what they are doing is they are creating a sort of a mindset in which people need to bind themselves in. It's a brand promise, right? I mean, so when I say DHL excellence simply delivered, I'm conveying a point to somebody, right? So when I say that, and it's something very simple, and I'm giving examples from where I come from, we say that, we have three bottom lines. The first bottom line is that we are an employer of choice. So I'm telling everybody around the whole world that I'm a great employer and I'm therefore attracting great people. I'm a provider of choice, the second bottom line, which tells people that I'm offering solutions where, I will really add value and you will want to choose me. And the third is I'm an investment of choice, where I'm telling my shareholders that, when you invest money in this organization, it gives you great returns on your investment. And I've not seen a simpler render of saying, there's another thought which I'll tell you, which says, what are our guiding principles? How do we live by? So our guiding principles are respect and results. So you know what? Are you chasing results? Bloody hell, we are chasing results all the time. I will do anything to chase results, and I'm a very result-oriented organization, result-oriented leadership person, etc. But while you are chasing results, are you being respectful in the way you're conducting yourself while chasing results? And there are very difficult conversations you have on many occasions. But as long as those conversations are respectful, this is the way we live our life in organizations like us. Now, that's a huge promise and a great guide for anybody who's working internally. Another example I'll give you. We say that we are ICCC, which is we have an insanely customer-centric culture. So imagine, we have thousands of customer service people and you call them up, they have a nice mirror in front of them. And then they pick up the phone and they smile at themselves in the mirror and they say, welcome to DHL. The smile reaches somebody outside there, but they have on their pin-up board that I am insanely customer-centric. Now, just by saying that, Swachh Bharat, does Bharat become Swachh? No, it does not. Just by saying that, I'm insanely customer-centric. But thoughts like these find their way into the brand and become a part of what you stand for. And that messaging we convey through ATL, BTL, communication, when I go in media, when I'm talking to you. But I'm able to communicate that messaging because I'm living that brand. And my brand promise is coming out to you. But how does that juxtapose itself to short-term results, really? There's no long-term without short-term, and short-term has to dovetail into long-term. But unless I provide that fabric, my short-term is not happening. But unless I'm learning from that short-term, my long-term is not happening. So they're so interwoven. True. And to say one exists without the other. And there are different people within an organization. Some people are more focused on the here and now. Some people are more focused on what is the here and now going to be 5 quarters from now. So I think it's a nice balance, and one can't coexist without the other. So I hope I'm able to bring some thoughts.
Yeah,
into
no,
the table.
amazingly well put.
Dovetail into what you said, and I see this as a X and Y axis. On X axis, you have relevance. On Y axis, you have sustainability / profitability, right? All brands are vying to be present and boldly present on both the axes.
True.
And I've seen so many organizations, they burn their cash trying to be relevant in the short term, right? And you know that 6 months, 2 years down the line, they're all out of the market, right? Because while you want to stay relevant, you also want to reinvest some of that cash back into making your products and services really excellent for customer to remain our choice, right? And people to come back to you. That I don't see happening so many times, and the services are terrible, to say the least, right? And when you look at the ads, when you look at the promises, you look at all the campaigns, staggering, mind-blowing, right? Shot in these exotic locales, and I'm like, what about the product? What about the services? What about your people? What your talent? Where is your leadership? Where's your succession? Right? So I'll go back to the two axes here, X and Y, where being relevant, staying relevant, vis-a-vis staying sustainable, critically important for us.
And just to go back to Mahesh, when you made that comment about is long-term value relevant itself, right? In a world that is quarterly, in some sense, to me, this sort of dovetails into a lot of the other comments that have happened. I mean, so he talked about the fact that there is no long-term without the short-term, or the other way around, and that one dovetails into the other. I sort of also look at it from a slightly different perspective in terms of saying that long-term value, and brand is a very typical example of long-term value, right? Provides a anchor to the customer in a fast-changing world. Now, when you are, imagine yourself as a ship, right? That is in choppy waters, and choppy waters, it's changing, right? At the same time. So people look for anchors, right? That what am I going to anchor on? Right. I'm going to, he talked about values, right, of an organization, right? Now, that's one of the anchors, right, for an organization in a very fast changing world. To me, a brand also provides that anchor that, in a very, very fast changing world. I mean, whether it's the anchor of the value that they will expect from a CDM, or whether it's the anchor that they will expect from Colgate, or whether it's the anchor that they will expect from a DHL. That's right. These are all very, very strong brands. In your own business, the anchor that they will expect from Rustomjee when they buy a home, right? The buying a home is the single largest purchase that anyone ever makes in their life, right? So that assurance is really what you're providing, and that's the long-term value.
So I think what you said is absolutely right, and I think slightly probably the comment got misunderstood. I did not say that is long-term brand relevant. I said the topic when they shared was that does long-term brand building, what does it mean in a quarterly changing world? I think you very rightly said brand like that of ours, for example, we are first generation real estate. If I tell you who they are, you'll be amazed, and all of you would remember the brand. If you recollect the Java and Yashdi,
Yes.
we own the Java and Yashdi brand.
Oh, is it?
It's owned by Mr. Baman Irani, our chairman, and he did not sell that brand. The business is closed. Rustomjee is an offshoot of that family business. Those lands, they got into real estate. We relaunched that with Mahindra and Mahindra.
Yes.
And the brand is still owned by us. So I think there are two parts to it. One, absolutely right, and I think I think you summarize it so well, that all of us, we live through the brand promise in all shades, all walks, whether employer branding or customer side or services, everything. The most important thing is, and taking it back to where you said that in financial terms, and when I still remember a lot of debates we used to have on the balance sheet line items that why is this so much of a cost? Well, I think balance sheets have their own missions and their own agendas in life. The guy who's sitting in the creative room, he doesn't care any bit about what you're going to do with it, because the fact is that while you're booking that cost, amortizing it, because you're investing in the brand every single day in all forms, not just in the marketing route, or not just this, maybe the branding of the product route. As you rightly said, every delivery that you make adds to your brand value.
Yeah.
It's an investment, maybe through some other route. It is not, you're not paying for the brand that moment. It's not just the events that you do. It's whatever you do that the life that you're living is actually investment.
Yeah.
Whether then you invest in people, or in the communication, or in your offices, or in your deliveries, or on your customer side, I think practically everywhere. That's an investment which needs to be amortized. And if you have made that investment in the current year, you might as well book that cost. But then balance sheets have their own reasons, and promoters will have their own reasons to keep it separate also sometimes, take a value out of it later, etc., all kinds.
That's what Pradeep mentioned, right? That a CMO
Exactly.
is looking at the infusion of
Yeah.
funds, right?
Absolutely.
And your
yes.
business head is looking at my short term, my quarterly results only.
The years when I was in the sales and marketing, every time when I had to fight for the marketing pie,
Budgets.
I would always have this logic, okay, boss, this is not for 1 year. This is going to give us a return over the next 5 years.
True.
So that story will sell.
Yeah.
So ultimately, it's over a long term.
Thankfully, I think you won. Because Rustomjee today does have long-term value.
I'm talking about my earlier sales days. I'm now into HR. There, of course, I do work on the.
Even if I was to dial back what you just said, I think it is undeniable that long term is a combination of or accumulation of lots of short terms, right? Ultimately, logically so. So every moment of truth where you're interacting with a customer is that litmus test. It's a Boolean logic. Yes, no, the brand works, it doesn't work. All of us, at least 3 of us, have telecom backgrounds: Airtel, Reliance, Jio, Tata's.
No, I was also in Reliance as well.
You're in Reliance as well. So Reliance is everywhere. So I won't be surprised if they are twice or thrice. But the point being, we all have ran through the circles where every quarterly or every monthly we need to have a prepaid activations when subscription numbers were being chased, and then when subscription numbers target moved away to a revenue target, we were then chasing revenues by way of activation. But the fact is that Airtel, Jio, etc. are brands that are now transcending that quarterly, monthly mentality to create long-term affinity in the mind of a customer by giving repeated satisfaction experience. Because once you onboard a customer, how do you keep him delighted or at least at the base level satisfied? If you're not reinforcing your brand values by way of your actions, whether it is, insanely customer-focused customer service in DHL or, the proud ownership of a reliable builder, given the fact that there are so many fly-by-night operators in this country, or whether it's entertainment content or it is B2B services in terms of data analytics and financial systems management, etc. So in all of them, I think every moment of truth, you need to keep reinforcing the brand messaging, and therefore the investments need to be balanced across what you're doing into the long term, but also tactically how you're engaging the customer in the short term and in the quarterly, in the monthly, in the daily, business cycle.